Before I start, I want to apologize for taking over 3 months on this. What can I say? Real life hit me hard these past few months with everything I was trying to accomplish and everything I was finishing up and everything I was doing. It was kind of a mess. But without further ado, here's the last part of a Hairier problem. Rise of the Furball. Finally, a brighter tomorrow. Raspberry sucked in the air with a hiss, enduring the pain in her injured leg was radiating. It was made the last lap for Fair Vista, and that due to the severity of the injury, her hind leg having been denied immediate magic healing till well after Fair Vista had been dealt with. How burnt out Raspberry had been at the time. The fact that she didn't need a leg amputated in the end was thanks to the rapid response of Royal Guard medics, applying battlefield triage until she could be successfully transferred to Punfield General's emergency room. Over the past 2 weeks, she had been stuck in a hospital bed under orders by Twilight. The rest of the elements in a show of their power as her wardens. All doctors and everybody else who thought she hadn't been a reminder of her lower left leg still being attached to her body by tendons to her toothpick. What made the stay at Ponyville General even more awkward was that because she put every last drop of magic she recharged while bedridden into her healing wounds, there was nothing to put her true colors to disguise, so there was more than one instance where her elongated horn caused some pony to freak. But now, after her magic recharged enough for her passive regeneration to kick in, her leg wasn't going to fall off if hit by a stiff breeze now the bone tissue had healed, mostly. As it was, her muscles couldn't heal the scars left by Fista's teeth, leaving her left leg forever weakened slightly. Back at Sombra's time, a pony would have been killed out of mercy due to the impossibility of them ever being able to walk again. But as Raz grunted again, shifting herself to a more accessible orientation, she smiled at the device her magic levitated. Our technology had answers to problems like hers, and while she would need it for the rest of her life, it was but a small price to pay for what it had been able to do. Gingerly, the three-piece leg brace wrapped itself around the still-scarred metal joint of Raspberry's left leg, before closing and the clip snapping into place ready for testing. "All right, are you ready?" asked Nurse Redheart, positioning herself to give support, taking the caregiver some time to acclimate to Raz's unusual appearance, much like the rest of the medical staff when the mauled unicorn was carried into the ER. But after learning she was a princess, it didn't take long for first impressions to fade. "Yeah, here goes," said the unicorn, easing herself over the edge until she was sitting upright. First, her right leg, thankfully, still as good as ever to support her weight. The left, not so much, as she involuntarily let out a brief scream of pain as she put weight evenly on her legs for the first time in 14 days. "Easy, easy," cautioned Redheart, immediately rearing to support the upper body of Raspberry. "You don't want to put too much strain on it too soon." "I know, but no offense, nurse, I'm no stronger to pain. I can take it." "It may be, but even princesses must take time to lick their wounds." Gradually, Raspberry was eased down with Redheart's help until she was once again upright on all four hooves. Delicately, the unicorn walked forward with baby steps, testing out her new accessory. While it didn't totally numb the pain, Raz wincing with every step she made with her left hind leg, the braces sliding and twisting in tune with her leg was like heaven, and only increased as the rehabilitated mare started to prance around the room in a circle. The pain fading into nothing as both her leg and magic worked together to accumulate the brace. "Feels good, doesn't it?" asked Redheart, to which Raspberry nodded happily. The nurse smiled, happy herself to see another patient back on her hooves, especially one who could easily tell it had a long road to go in terms of healing in other ways just physical. "The brace is designed such that it'll eventually allow you to walk around while supporting your own weight on your leg. But I'm afraid it doesn't mean much more than allowing you to take it off safely, or sleep, and take a bath. Anytime you're mobile for even a short distance, like down a hallway, the brace will be needed, or else you'll risk tearing the ligaments again." Raspberry stopped her trotting in circles, looked face to face with the nurse. "I must confess, when I chose to prevent my leg from healing because I didn't want to risk not having enough magic to stop the monster who threatened Ponyville, or apparently the fairy filly who was the reason I'm able to call this town home in the first place, I was prepared for the worst and would have been happy if I had been stuck in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. This leg brace is better than I could have hoped for. Like everything that's happened to me once the truth got out. Oddly, Redheart snickered. Funny you should mention that. Did you take a closer look at your brace before you put it on? No. Was there more than just black plastic and straps? Well, yes, but now that I think about it, I'm not the pony who would be best suited to describe what really into your new support. Redheart gave a slight wink that Raspberry had no idea how to interpret. Just then Heliodor appeared at the room's window. Oh, there you are, Healy. I was worried when you didn't come back around the time you usually do for your morning hunts. As an answer, Heliodor stretched forward one of his legs, which had tied to it a note. Raspberry took the note off and unrolled it to read. Ah, I thought as much. What? It's a summons to Golden Oaks, signed by Princess Sparkle herself. She can't possibly be serious, Redheart firmly stated. You clearly just got back on your hooves after the state your leg was in. It's an absolute miracle you're able to walk around half a month later without any egg other than the leg brace you now wear. However, one hard look from Raspberry was enough to have Redheart back down. Nurse Redheart, I appreciate your concern. If it had been for you and your colleagues, I may have ended up more of a cripple than just needing an accessory. However, as you can see, I'm back off on my hooves and off the bed. The latest miracle in a long string of miracles that I'd be given more than fortunate enough to have. But now it's my turn to work miracles. I give back to the ponies who have given me so much. But I can only do it with Twilight's help. An understanding gleam shined in Redheart's eye as he smiled. You may think I'm just flattering you, but dedication to your fellow ponies like that is truly a trait of true nobility. Go, my lady. I'll handle the paperwork. Just be careful, all right? Normally, I recommend ponies to go through physical therapy once they're at your stage, but then again, it's not a brisk gallop to the center of town you're seeking, no. Thanks, nurse. All right, Healy, let's go make miracles. The phoenix chirped happily, taking on his praise as Raz's horns he felt strong enough to don her brighter colors. Together, the pair left for the library with high spirits. The great sun shone in the sky, but the pony was not aware of that fact, but it thought the sound of reverberating from the middle of Ponyville meant another wild storm was approaching. But as the dark-powered unicorn entered the library, the dark interior suddenly brought into the light, with over a dozen ponies inside, and all but one of them stamping their hoofs in applause. Within the library, Twilight had gathered all the ponies involved with the recent werewolves' troubles. As it was, all the surviving werewolves were in attendance, including Diamond Tiara, who was behaving the complete opposite of her usual self. The usual company Twilight kept was also there, along with Corporal Skyracer and Dappledale, who had wished to keep their respective units in Ponyville until they were sure it was safe once again. The only pony who was absent was Lyra, stating her new job as an instrument and repair pony, and she was trustworthy to keep the secret, given her involvement in the stable incident a year prior. That was all Raspberry could figure for the brief seconds he had to survey the group, before Pinkie had vanished from view, only to make her presence known again by a massive side tackle hug that knocked Heliodor clean off the mount. I'm so happy to see you back in your house, Raspberry! Squealed Pinkie, squeezing the unicorn hard. Oh, my celestia, my leg! Screamed Raz. Pinkie's death grip pushed her leg into position where the brace couldn't work, and thus relieved the strain of weakened muscles. Oh, sorry, apologized Pinkie, immediately letting go. It's just I'm so glad Fair Fista didn't do any more lasting dancing in Lake, and I sort of forgot you just came from the hospital. Don't worry, Pinkie. The unicorn winced as she repositioned her bad leg, pills stinging through her pain in brief spurts. Compared to the 2 times Fair Fista's jaws closed on my body parts, that was nothing. Okay, does this mean we can throw you survived fighting a werewolf place by now? Not yet, Pinkie, interjected Twilight. Even though Fair Fista has been vanquished, and Ponyville no longer under immediate threat, we have one more business item to attend to it. Heil, asked Sandalwood. The only thing left to deal with is the fact that about a third of the ponies in this tree have lycanthropy, and of them, only 2 are going to eventually be forced to lose everything that makes us ponies, both body and mind. Great! I totally forgot about how much time I had left, realized Lightning airstripping. So if I remember enough about how long it's been since 18 and I thought, I'll no longer be a pony by the end of the month. The werewolf pigs had slipped on her rear, involuntarily folding her wings while she gingerly petted one of her tips. And what about us? Inquired Silver. Aside from Apple Bloom, are we fillies going to become simple wolves ourselves? Great! Now we're never gonna get our cutie marks, moaned Sweetie. There, babied Rarity, taking Sweetie into a long, four-legged embrace. There has to be some way to undo this crime to all of you. No, mumbled Tiara, but didn't look up from the ground. There isn't a way. Your Fista was very adamant about how one of the benefits of lycanthropy was a gift that couldn't be taken away. Only given back to other ponies. Well, with all due respect to Fista, what's to sustain no respect to whatsoever? Voiced Raspberry Rose smirk. She wasn't born as a direct descendant of the Dark Unicorn who invented the curse. Well, you say, Marius, asked Applejack, daring to hope for the impossible. All I'm saying is that, for all lycanthropy is, it still does parasitic dark magic. All kinds of enhancements, hexes, such cannot exist without there being more than one way to remove it, no matter how powerful they are made to be. But lycanthropy is more than just typical run-of-the-mill magic punishment. When I tried to examine it with lightning, I only ended up making things worse, pointing out Twilight. Crunching slightly, she glanced over to the fallen Pegasus, who was being covered by a rainbow. No offense, Twilight, but if you understood about as much about dark magic as I do, you would have known trying it without knowing exactly what to do would be like trying to pick a sensitive lock with a hair clip. Lycanthropy is complex, purely because it needs to sustain itself long enough for it to spread to a new host. So in a way, it's a woman travesty, Sister Rarity, only far less admirable. Yes, the components are very much woven together, and unless pulled apart precisely, will have disastrous effects, as what happened with Twilight and Lightning. However, Raspberry's eyes grew bright, and all the way the other ponies leaned forward with anticipation. Because my last attack on Fair Fista, it followed me driving my horn right to her heart, I was able to directly see the currents and pick it apart, while turning her into the wolf she wanted to be. She shrugged as a screamless look her eyes gave her. Gruesome, I know, but along with being rightly reserved for what she did to my leg, so it was better for me to understand the curse from as closest to the original strain as I could without having to harm any of you. Especially since it would be defeating the point of having worked out the cure. The actual, honest-to-goodness cure. Will it work on all of us? Asked Applebloom. Or just the ponies who aren't related to that monster? Let's find out, shall we? Raspberry's words barely had time to register to the others, before the unicorn revealed her magic was far more recharged than she let on. Her horn is shrouded in dark purple bubbles, and her eyes were a thing of nightmares. As she cast a spell Twilight had only guessed she'd begun to think of. The next day. Rainbow, where are you taking me? Shouted Lightning, struggling to keep up with her multicolored counterpart. It's a surprise! Was all Rainbow could answer back. But she didn't leave Dust in the dark for long. It's not long after that the clouds part, and there in plain sight was the plateau of the Thunderbolts Academy. What? Dust was shocked. What possibly could Das have done in store in the air? Green Pegasus had been kicked out following her dishonorable actions with behavior, with every impression she would never return. Never have a chance to live her dream as a Wonderbolt. So why was Spitfire waiting for the duo in her office? Well, can't say I ever expected to see you again. Private, Lightning Dust. Wonderbolt Captain, Curtly said, probably meant as some kind of greeting. That makes us both of us. Wait, you just called me a private, but I got kicked out by you. Oddly, Spitfire smiled. I'll be inside once you're done, Rainbow. She then turned and entered her door, leaving a very confused Lightning at the doorstep. You might explain me all this, Das? asked the not sure, still not ex-Wonderbolt hopeful. Rainbow gave a cheerful smirk, before expressing to change to somebody who was about to express gratitude. Not gonna lie, even though the tailspin of your life went into after you got kicked out was totally your fault, I still felt a little more guilty about it all. I was a horrible pony back then, Das. I deserved everything that came my way. You stopped me before I did something even more stupid, got more than just a whole full of ponies hurt. Yeah, but that was just it. That was you back then. A blue hoof found its way into the green shoulder. Werewolf thing? Well, on your terms, it was still totally all your fault, though nobody could have seen you actually getting cursed from that small brawl. But now, it's all said and done. You're a new mare, Dust. Goodness knows you put up having to live with me for a few months. Which must have been worse than our time training in here. You kidding? I never made you for a neat freak. Your pad was spotless. Was smart to say for anything I did to that couch. Exactly. For all that I kid around with Twilight being so sweet the outside, I did not like the place I lived being in a mess. That must have driven you crazy to not to wolf things in my house. Don't even get me started. Rainbow chuckled. Thought so. However, the main reason why we're here is because I owe you. Big time. For what? Skulu. Fairfist grabbed her under my supervision, and I couldn't go rescue her. It was just like letting a wing pony down. But you went in there and saved her. You proved you are a wing pony material because you were there when I couldn't because of the situation. As I said back when you first showed up at Ponyfield, you deserve a second chance. So here we are, where everything went wrong. A second chance, repeated Lightning. Is this for real? Rainbow laughed. You heard the captain, private. They'll write you hard. Probably even harder, given they most likely still remember you. While having one of the princesses vouch for you helped grease the wheels a bit. Zeno gave a slight wink, but Dust beat her by charging forward in a giant Pinkie Pie-style hug. You're the greatest, Daz, said Dust, muffled by her face buried Rainbow's neck, while giving her tightly set eyes overflowing with tears. Hey now, don't get me all sappy. I have a rep to keep up, barked White Rainbow, smiling all the while. Eventually, she managed to pull Dust off her neck. Also, if you ever need someplace to crash or just want to hang out, when you aren't supposed to be here, mind you, sometime, just stop by Ponyville. Of course. I'll return. You gotta promise not to let me down, Dust. Someday we'll be wonderfuls together. But it's on you to prove to Spitfire and all the others you're just as worthy as me. Got it? Yes, ma'am. All right, then. I gotta get back to Ponyville. So the storm clouds for you know what didn't fully dissipate, and as weather manager, I need to handle the response. So I'll be seeing ya. The two wing ponies batted wings together and signed their friendship. Before Rainbow then took the opportunity to launch into the air off the tarmac. As for Lightning, still teary-eyed, she was still trying to understand how fortunate she was. And to think, I originally blamed her for all my troubles, thought Jess, slowly waving after the fading afterwards of a rainbow streak. And now she's the reason I can keep my dreams alive. Recess at Ponyville Elementary had, initially, looked like it was going to be another playground showdown between the Crusaders and Time and Tiara, now that all the ruckus had over whatever they'd been fault with. In the interest of minimizing public outcry, Fair Vista had been painted as an anarchist who had been obsessed with her own appearance to the point of painting trained wolves to look like her. All mess and lycanthrope be stricken from official records given to the public. However, it was an air of disappointment when Diamond Tiara merely walked out the back door of the schoolhouse, just to turn the corner and see a heap of the present in the building cell. Evidently, the Crusaders, all 5 of them, soon turned out to follow her. What do you want? She sneered, so she had no feeling behind it. After she woken up to following the high fall Silver knocked into, she had also come back to her senses. But Silver Spoon recounted what Diamond Tiara had done while serving Vista, and the Pink Filly had been horrified to see how far she had gone in the name of revenge, and been blinded by her own ego. Her father's punishment of grounding her for life until further notice was trivial compared to what judgment lay in store for her at the host of the Crusaders. Well, I'm here to apologize, Evelyn said flatly. You're what? Tiara was stunned. After all the stuff I did to you, to your friends, what do you have to apologize for? Light was milling at the window that night during the storm. I've been so worked up about getting back at you for all I've had to deal with because you don't like me or my friends. It's my fault for driving you to such extremes. I am sorry for calling you a beast because you insulted my pirates. Seriously, Apple Bloom? Asked Lulu. Are you going to apologize here for everything before you got to cast too? Tiara sighed. No, I wouldn't accept an apology for any of that earlier stuff either. I deserved it. Especially since I now know more often than not I dragged Silver along for the ride as well, didn't I? Silver just nodded, prompting Tiara to continue. All this time, I've been a big bad bully, all because of some stupid reason. There's a reason? Sweetie raised an eyebrow confused. I thought you didn't like us because we didn't have game marks. Well, that too, but it was really a bonus cause for being mean to you. Really, the main reason why was the main of your existence was that you three will be more important than I'll ever be. Now Bass was confused. See again? Tiara growled. Are you all blind? Your sisters, or sister figure in the case of Rainbow Dash, are half the elements of harmony. The six influential poles and all Equestria below Alicorns. You have to red ties to two princesses now. The only reason I even friend the wealthiest family in town is because my great grandfather sold the goods made by the Apple family. So what does that make me? Alfalfa now? Realize your last bracket your useful behavior. Diamond immediately became ashamed of herself. Sorry for the outburst, but all habits die hard. As for you, Silver, you're from a line of silversmiths that are aligned to take over the family business, along with the other thing your family did. But me, I'm just a rich brat. A respite little cue mark that likes to flaw and form our voices, commented Applebloom, referencing the argument that had gotten the entire mess started in the first place. Diamond picked up on it. Really want to know? My cutie mark isn't all that special. My special talent. I love to get attention. That's it. I'm rich. I'm popular. I was at any rate. But only point I cared was living the dream life. So it was a constantly maddening thing to go through every single thing, to see you three blanks have something I couldn't have, for all the money in my dad's bank account or any other means. And what will that buy? Friendship. WTR couldn't even look at any of your affiliates in the eyes. He elaborated. You're right, Silver. We were never really true friends. We really just hooked up because I wanted to be seen with the second richest filly in town, and you were desperate to do anything for a friend. But as much as I tried to deny it, there were you crusaders, undefined by cutie marks, but instead possessing something my cutie mark demanded I tried to have. But the best I could accomplish was a mere farce of one. And it's why I always worked to try and knock the Crusaders down whenever I could, to prove myself that I was better. That's what blinded me during this whole affair. I want to get back to you so badly, Apple Bloom, that I willingly sacrificed everything that mattered to me. In the end, I did become what I always been, a bit. Okay, that word's been tossed around far too much at this point, okay? Interrupted Babs. We're all ponies again. You just refer to yourselves as yourselves instead of female thugs. Of course, laughed Bloom. Who, considering logical pargler or by, screaming or not to, yeah, unthinkable, and outstretched the hook towards the teary-eyed filly, who had been the most hated thing in her life for years. I'm pulling on the life. I'm friendship. Some night, I will get you to pay for one of these things, said Sandalwood, her hands all around Raspberry's neck. I could just as uneasily do the cure, you know. Oh, yes, replied Raz, sighing contentedly as Sandy's delicate hooves worked their magic on her body. Well, you won't, will you? Of course. I'm too nice of a pony for that. Besides, thought you'd be this good at your job with canine paws. Sandalwood immediately the reply, and Raz knew the aromatherapist was grateful. After all, she immediately promised the unicorn 3 of aromatherapy for a month or so, when it was found to cure indeed work, and lycanthropy had ceased to exist in Ponyville. That had been yesterday, but while not even a full day had gone by, it felt like so much had happened. The guards, satisfied that Ponyville was now safe from any lingering threats, had bid their farewells and departed home to Canterlot. Rainbow had begged Twilight to get Lightning that second chance at the Wonderbolts for a variety of reasons. And here was Sandalwood, back to work as if nothing had gone wrong. So, are you gonna go back to selling those gems of yours? Asked Sandalwood, willing to set up another one of her scents. One would smell like something like cinnamon. Sort of. If police want to order them from me, I'll do it. But as it stands, there's no need for me to go door to door anymore. The Jowler's Retreat is my workplace, in my home now. So I had to abide by the rules of Ascot and Kashmir. They probably don't want me installing a blast furnace inside the place. Doesn't bother me anyway, since I still have my setup back in the safe house in the Everfree Ruins. Sandy raised an eyebrow at that. The guards didn't confiscate that stuff? Even though it was used for illegal counterfeiting? It's dark crystal. You think anybody would even try testing that stuff? Of course, there are the stipulations. I had to add the invariant charm on any gems I make from now on to prevent a certain baby dragon from eating them and repeating that fun scenario. The conversation largely stopped at that point, and Sandy started to go deeper in her emotions, relief evident in the noises coming out of Raspberry's muzzle. She was slightly disappointed when it was all over, but not too much. If his conversation with the waiting Rarity in the spa's lobby meant anything, this was going to be a weekly occurrence. Oh, Sandalwood, I have a package for you. said the receptionist. Luckily for whatever fashion makes, he had grabbed off the stack, handing it on the table. Neither hesitating said something directed off. Real nail. Instead, he popped in a small office and retrieved the packets, choosing to open it in the safety of her own little corner in the back. She didn't have another appointment for at least 15 minutes. Inside the package was a book, Minotaur Anatomy for Dummies. The section about Minotaur hand strikers had little postage stamps attached. No doubt Lyra was doing. Well, this should prove useful, chuckled Sandalwood, wondering the book and her host could prove that Minotaurs were in fact related to the mythical human race in one way or another. Sid, this is the one you actually killed 11 years ago. Asked Luna, skeptical of the body she stood next to. I was immediately expecting more than a dead wolf. Almost certainly skin and bones, no less, with its hot gold out. Come now, you read what Twilight wrote was how this came to be. Just like Celestia, the only thing still remaining in that crater is a broken tombstone, which ironically marks where Sabalom died last year. Poetic justice, August? I honestly don't care. The fact that these two are finally both dead is good enough for me. With a nod, Celestia commanded the guards to carry the stuffed body that had once been Fair Fista's resurrected Fistula into the secret vault door under the Crystal Castle. Silently, they also stuffed the body of Sabalom, untested and forgotten since having taken residence there, gazed into nothing as if finally reunited with his mate. And so, here finally ends the legacy of Sabalom. Celestia's tone was a mix of relief and annoyance. She was relieved that there truly had been an end to Sable's plans in any form whatsoever, but also annoyed at this being the third time she decided he had finally been dealt with. Let us hope the third time is truly the charm, and these two will stay locked away forever. Of course they will, Sandy, snarked Luna. They are finally reunited. What more do they need than each other? Oh, that's easy, Lulu. Silence. Together, the outcomes of the day and night resealed the vault, light from outside being drawn across the two stuffed werewolves inside, when their only companions were each other, and the elaborate defenses that would ensure they would nearly get out, if, for whatever reason, they could actually still come back to life. Then with a resounding clang, all light was shut out of the vault, leaving the last of the werewolves forever entombed under the place where the curse had been created. That evening, a great feast was held at Sweet Apple Acres to celebrate the final defeat of werewolves and how it had cursed the farming family for 2 generations. Of course, due to needing to keep werewolves actually existing a secret, it was instead Pinky's Ponyville's now safe to Raspberry Barrel celebration that Raspberry's injuries weren't more serious bash. The majority of the townsfolk were intended, namely to thank, and for many, the first to really meet Raspberry. We did our best to not show how uncomfortable she was with being the center of attention. Although admittedly, she did appreciate the attention being positive and welcoming to her instead of the mobs of old who drove her out under the impression she was no better than Sombra. By the middle of the party, it was pretty late that night. Raz did manage to find a way to sneak out of the festivities. Once reunited with Heliodor, who had been off doing his own thing at the edge of Everfree, the two silently made the short journey to the farm's graveyard. There, standing out from the smaller other gravestones in a sea of roses, 2 alabaster sentinels marked the final resting places of the ponies Raspberry wished to speak to. She drew closer, getting a raise to read the inscriptions. Bright Mac, loving father. Pear. Pear, loving mother. Hello, accurately greeted the unicorn. The tombstone said nothing, which was perfectly normal behavior for tombstones. Nonetheless, Raz sighed. You probably don't know me. I most likely never met you before you died. But I know the monsters named Sabalom and Fair Fista were the ones who transformed you into werewolves yourselves, before Sable murdered both of you in dead of winter. Applejack told me how she and the rest of your surviving family met you on some other plane of existence following Sabalom's defeat. So I'll assume that you know everything up to that point. As for why I'm here now, it's to apologize. Because of me, Applejack had to suffer everything she went through a year ago all over again. It was unintentional, but it doesn't make me feel any less guilty about the matter. However, you should know I purged the curse of lycanthropy not only from your daughters, but thankfully a few other ponies who were unfortunate enough to contract it, along with personally dispatching Fair Fista. No more shall werewolves plague your family, nor this town as a whole. But I'm also here to let you know how deeply indebted I am to your daughter, Apple Bloom. Until I came to Ponyville, there was nothing for me other than my companion Heliodor, A unique type of magic that police believed was all they needed to know about who I was, and I was to be run out of town, if not worse. Then not once, but twice, I almost did things that I would have never ever regretted if ruined any chances of me being accepted as a regular pony, much less being able to have a stable life that others take for granted. If it wasn't for her, who knows what would have been different. I'll still be a flea-bitten environment for starters, Sally came the voice of Apple Bloom. Surprised, Beryl turned around to see the filly standing not too far away from her. Apple Bloom was not alone. Applejack was also there. Hey, don't worry. We talk to our folks once in a while ourselves. Just because they're dead don't mean they're around, said Horace Ware. Heck, after all you did for us, you're practically part of the Gamble family already. I guess so, huh? Rat smiled. I even have the fast accessory, too. Apple Bloom raised an eyebrow. Well, you talk about it. Oh, well, all the apples have some kind of accessory. You've got your bow. Applejack's got her hat. Granny has her neckerchief. Big Mac is collar, and I've got this. Unicorn's fair, that's like roast off to show off the price you would be forever need to wear. Funny you should mention that, Donnie, said Rarity, who had appeared on the scene. Pinky, Violet, Fluttershy, and Rainbow all followed right behind her. I think no ponies explained why your leg brace is so special yet. I remembered Nurse Redheart mentioning something about it, but she wasn't the one who would tell me. Flight beamed. Can you take it off for a second? Why? Right now I can't even stand up without it. Pinky suddenly produced a large point-sized mirror from a backstand, putting it between Twilight and Raspberry. I knew I kept an emergency passing mirror on so Yellow Acres for a reason, she said with pride. Raspberry didn't pay much attention to Pinky. Her focus was more on the details she missed. The millisecond of the brace, which was right over where the scars are normally quite visible, was an engraving of the Colada ring with a smooth face of two Portuguese. Two arrows held a heart in between them, with the heart having a crown of sorts sitting on top of it. Of note was that the heart appeared to be more than the outline of one, rather faceted. It was a crystal heart. Normally, traditionally, Colada rings are simple of shares bonds of love, loyalty, and friendship, explained Rarity. The hers are friendship, the heart is love, and the crown is loyalty. Admittedly, while I was the one who suggested the heart be made to resemble the crystal heart in recognition of your ability, I have a working relationship with the pony in charge of making medical attire of all sorts used by Ponyfield General ever since I simply had to resign those hideous patient gowns following Maple's accident almost 2 years ago. And if you need another base for formal affairs, I'll gladly have another one designed and made just for you. It was Apple Bloom who came up with the idea first to make a meaningful symbol on your place. Yeah, and you want to hear your trial? They were giving you only did that because you thought late if your friends abandoned you. You know we hadn't. That's why you always got a place of policy at stake with you. Madam, no matter what, we'll always be there to support you. Ray Raspberry's eyes started to tear up, making it truly a heartfelt moment as she took in the significance of the symbol leg brace. So at the same moment, Heliodor started making some kind of whining noise, evidently worried about something. Oh, hush you, scolded Raspberry. Don't think for a second I'm going to abandon you just because you're not my only friend anymore. What's the point? It hasn't been true for months. Besides, it's not like I get you to stop using my horn as your favorite roost spot. Heliodor shrugged as if it was a good answer for him, to which every pony laughed. The Pinky shivered. Ruby! Excuse me, I just can't call there. Well, we are getting close to when the weather team will be bringing in the snow for heartswarming, said Rainbow. Plus, we're missing the party, so let's go. The group nodded using. Though the apples didn't seem to be making a move to follow along. We got some things to say to our folks, too. We'll be along shortly, said Applejack. All right, see you inside, said Overpie Raspberry. I then remembered something. Hey, Twilight, can I ask a favor of you? Yeah, sure, answered the Alicorn. What do you need? Well, it's sort of a personal matter. Whatever Raz and Twilight were discussing, the Apple sisters didn't hear anything more as they turned to commune to the dead. Well, I guess there isn't really much to say, given Raz said most of it. But yeah, they ain't werewolves no more, for real this time. They ain't more and more, so it's almost like they stopped playing more than late in the first place. But just because we're okay, don't make me ever stop thinking about you, said Apple Bloom. We still miss you, pal. We both know you're looking out for us, wherever you are. As they gave an invisible cue, both Applejack and Apple Bloom instinctively looked up. There, streaking across the sky, were a pair of eternally mated shooting stars. AJ took a look at her sister's side, tipping a foreleg over her body, as the sisters watched their parents fly over the horizon and through the cerulean night. Meanwhile, in Canterlot, honestly, Final, you can't be serious! Complained Octavia. This has been an extremely difficult restaurant to get reservations to. And while Final Strats, aka DJ Pwn 3, was capable of acting like a normal pony in this setting, she tended to be quite eccentric giving an interest in something. I'm serious, Acty. I got a guy in the 501st, a childhood friend of mine. Told me they were honest to celestial werewolves threatening Ponyville. Even killed one or two of them. Though I'll admit I don't believe I was claimed they were all identical clones. Right. And the fact that something similar happened in that strange forest, why, any pony knows now, it still confuses me. Last year, that the Minotaurs were somehow involved also has something to do with werewolves. Didn't that one individual, Iron Man, I think his name was, going to kill the last one and thus make the princess's bride? Yeah, totally. I know everybody says it was all a cover-up for some serious bad stuff that went down. Our nieces only used this wedding with the excuse of werewolves to hide why they suddenly have stronger ties. But think about it. What if it actually was werewolves involved there too? Oh, please, drawled the great pony with a black mane. Werewolves, a silly idea, no doubt about it. Suddenly the pony behind her broke into hysterics. Annoyed, Octavia turned around to confront the offender. So do you mind? Oh, yes, sorry. Apologized to finally dressed brown unicorn, and taking a chance to sip out his coffee, which looked more like chocolate milk than anything. Octavia couldn't be sure, but for a second she thought his eyes, which appeared to be regular brown color eyes, lost the color they were yellow with red irises. I just figured out an old joke that a friend once told me long ago. Unfortunately, it's an inside joke that you wouldn't understand. Well, please, some ponies are trying to have a conversation with ponies at the table they're sitting at. She then turned back to Vinyl, scowling. But honestly, ponies who would turn to wolves? What rubbish. The end. As I said before, I am so sorry for this taking so long. But on the bright side, this did give me a long time to ponder and think about this fic. First off, the bad. Well, this fic is great and all, and I really loved it when I first read this. Interestingly enough, while I was doing the live read of the first part, there's a small part of me that can't help but feel like this was two stories in one. One was Raspberry Story, and the other was Apple Blooms. It felt like there was a small little conflict here. Like, when we started focusing on Raspberry Story, Apple Bloom was kind of forgotten, as was Fair Vistas. Conversely, while Apple Bloom's story got focused on, I tend to forget about Raspberry and focus more on Fair Vista. I almost feel like this might have been a little bit better if the two stories were split into two separate pieces. One where we get to focus on Apple Bloom and her adventures, and then Raspberry. I say this because when you get down to it, whenever Raspberry started to get her story going, she kind of stole attention and material away from Apple Bloom to the point where, other than helping Raspberry out of the trial, Apple Bloom began to grow small, felt insignificant. As a matter of fact, once Fair Vista really started going after Apple Bloom still felt insignificant, as it felt like the story just didn't want to talk about Apple Bloom or give Apple Bloom much to do. This is in direct contrast with how, in A Harry Problem, Applejack was at the forefront and she was the main character. I guess it doesn't help that I am not the type of guy who likes it when the main six get buzzed into side characters of a story, and that's what happened here. The main six barely got to do anything. And you know how that irks me. Granted, not as bad as some other stories. On the other hand, everything else was great. Raspberry was well done. The plot moved at a good pace. I loved the characters, and I loved the mythology. It's just that when you feel a split like that, it kind of does annoy. Next time, let's relax with some Universe.